Hello, I'm James Ezimoha. Welcome to Africa News. Let's see your headlines. Family mourns young father killed in deadly youth-led protest in Madagascar. More than 200 vultures killed by poisoning in South Africa. Residents in war-torn Congo turn to comedy for relief. A bill before the U.S. Congress could end long-standing sanctions on Zimbabwe, potentially allowing trade, investment and diplomatic engagement to expand after more than 2 decades of restrictions.
23 years after the United States passed the Zimbabwe Democracy and Economic Recovery Act, ZIDERA, citing alleged human rights abuses, Washington appears ready to reconsider its stance. A proposed bill seeks to repeal the sanctions-imposing legislation, which has been widely criticized for stifling Zimbabwe's economic progress.
The people that suffered are the common people in the street, the industry the industry of Zimbabwe as a whole. The whole economy suffered.
Chokonya's refrigerator manufacturing business was battered by the sanctions as it lost markets and access to finance. Rows of equipment lie idle in this once bustling factory that employed 350 people before the sanctions were imposed. Many other facets of life here have been adversely affected.
I've heard over the years that people are saying no, slightly, we are now slightly over 46 billion US dollars that has been lost because of the suffering and the imposition of sanctions. But the impact is not all that easy to quantify, because some of the impacts are non-monetary, like denial of basic rights to women and children.
Observers say the latest move follows a gradual warming of relations, including last year's review of other individual sanctions and executive orders.
The culmination of years of U.S.-Zimbabwe resetting of relations as a result of the Zimbabwean orientation, foreign policy orientation of re-engagement. You see that the U.S. is re-evaluating its entire foreign policy. And as part of that re-evaluation, what you see is that a country like Zimbabwe, which is so keen when it comes to critical minerals, we talk of lithium, rare earth minerals, amongst other things, you actually see that this is a strategic re-evaluation.
If the bill passes, it would restore access to international credit lines.
It will give some room to open up new industries in this country, maybe new financial institutions, maybe World Bank will open up as well, and IMF, they'll open up, maybe the European Union as well, they'll be able to give us loans.
Though the policy measures are still at proposal stage and may take time to be passed, the mere fact that they've been suggested is seen as a positive step.
In Madagascar, a family is mourning the loss of a young father killed amid the island nation's first wave of youth-led protests. Demonstrations have erupted over chronic shortages of power and water and growing frustration with government inaction.
In the outskirts of Madagascar's capital, Antananarivo, a family grieves the loss of a young father. He was mistakenly killed during the country's first wave of Gen Z-led protests, which started in late September. Manimira Ranolisoa, now a widow with 2 children, described the moments before her 32-year-old husband, Alain Mamisoa Randriambolamanana, was shot.
He went up to our second shop. He left the house to close up this shop. After closing it, he was going to come back inside, and that's when he was shot.
The protests, driven by thousands of young people frustrated by chronic power and water shortages, have shaken the island nation. Demonstrators are calling for government accountability and immediate changes to worsening living conditions. Largely organized through social media, the protests have drawn attention to the growing political consciousness among Madagascar's youth. Rana Lisoa says they are tired of broken promises and systemic neglect.
It is normal for the people to protest because the people are hungry. Salaries are no longer enough in Antananarivo.
Authorities have yet to comment on the shooting, but rights groups are calling for an independent probe.
In eastern Congo, residents battered by years of violence are finding a rare moment of relief at a comedy festival. Organizers hope laughter can ease the psychological toll of conflict and displacement.
War-weary Placide Tula is seeking light relief at this comedy festival in Congo. He travelled to the government-controlled city of Beni from Goma, where violence broke out as rebel group M23 took over in late January.
At one point, I was stuck alone at home, not knowing what to do or where to go, and suddenly thoughts pushed me to think about bad things and even consider hanging myself. When they told me about this comedy festival, I thought maybe it would bring peace, not knowing what it would do. But I've now experienced the reality, and that's why it has really relieved me.
Fighting between government forces and M23 rebels has killed thousands of people and displaced hundreds of thousands of others in the country. Utula says he lost many friends, and his wife also had a miscarriage.
Sometimes we're told that laughter is therapy, but will it heal my internal wounds? Because until now, my heart is bleeding.
Organizer Christian Kabwe knows that people are suffering and wants to provide some relief.
We organised this event first to relieve stress for the population, and second, as the French say, laughter is therapeutic. So we wanted to offer this mass therapy, not for one or two people, but for everyone who attends this activity.
At the festival, comedians use dark humour to entertain the crowds, including about former President Joseph Kabila, who has been found guilty of war crimes for backing M23, which he denies.
In South Africa, conservationists are raising the alarm after more than 200 vultures, many critically endangered, have been found killed around Kruger National Park this year. Experts warn the poisonings endanger both biodiversity and human health.
Vultures play an important role in the natural ecosystem. Often referred to as the cleanup crew, they can spot dead animals from miles away and strip carcasses clean, preventing the spread of disease.
And vultures are this group of animals that are really in the crossfire when it comes to wildlife poisoning. You know, a lot of the events that affect them aren't really targeting vultures specifically, but they're almost the innocent bystanders. And I think it's an eye-opening thing for a lot of people working in conservation to kind of draw our mindsets away from, you know, one or two species being protected and really looking at this as a threat that's affecting ecosystems as a whole, and scavenging species, which often are not that appreciated in the big scheme of things.
However, in more recent years, vultures have become specific targets. Their exceptional visual ability to spot dead animals in the distance and circling over carcasses usually alerts rangers of illegal activity, making it inconvenient for poachers. In some cases, the birds are also being killed and harvested for their body parts to be used in traditional medicines. 125 vultures died in the Kruger National Park earlier this year. According to authorities, an elephant was laced with deadly poisons targeting the vultures. While these scavengers are able to break down harmful bacteria and pathogens, their digestive systems are unable to handle highly toxic poisons. Wildlife experts are calling on the government to ban these poisons, especially dangerous agrochemicals and pesticides.
There are a lot of illegal toxins coming and going out of countries as well and across borders, but a very proactive move, and something that I do think South Africa as a country should focus on, is the removal of these extremely potent toxins that we do see used in wildlife crime. We saw it with turbifos that's been banned in South Africa recently after a big spate in people being poisoned from spaza shops and other areas where toxins were being used illegally.
The Moholoholo Wildlife Rehabilitation Centre, situated in the northeastern Lowveld of South Africa, introduced a vulture restaurant to provide scavengers with a safe supply of food. These restaurants have become an important conservation effort to keep the birds safe. The centre is also trying to create more public awareness around the importance of these birds.
Now to sports. Cape Verde's national football team is preparing for what could be a historic match. The small West African nation is just one win away from qualifying for the World Cup for the first time.
At a stadium in Libya's Tripoli, players from Cape Verde's national team are warming up to potentially make history. The West African island nation is just one win away from qualifying for the World Cup for the first time. If it does so, it will become, with a population of around 600,000, the second smallest country after Iceland to qualify.
Yeah, it's a very key match.
Paulo Santos is vice president of the Cape Verde Football Federation.
All of us, Cape Verde and Libya, we did a very good qualification, and we are fighting for that. So the match will be, we hope and we are waiting a very tough match.
The Blue Sharks are topping Group D of the African qualifiers. They need a win over Libya or Eswatini on Monday to guarantee a place at next year's North America tournament. In doing so, Cape Verde would also beat much-fancied Cameroon to the automatic qualifying spot. Getting to this point also would have been unimaginable 2 decades ago. Cape Verde barely played any international soccer back then, averaging 2 games a year between 1986, when they joined FIFA, to 1990. That was the year they competed in World Cup qualifiers for the first time, ranked 182nd in the world. Cape Verde is more than 100 places higher today, driven in part by an active search for players in its global diaspora.
It's a small country, a very poor country, resilience, but we will try to do this.
Santos said for now the players need to focus on playing, respecting Libya and trying to win. But if they do achieve qualification, he said, that would be very special and a happy day for all our people.
Well, that's all we have today in Africa News. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned to A News.